अच्छा, वीडियो स्टार्ट करें। आपका माइक बंद है।
Please do.
बंद।
Could you tell us something? Could you tell us more about this vast intelligence of which you speak? Is it an untapped capacity within the brain, or is it some disembodied force to which we may become open? Lovely question, isn't it? Could you tell us more about this vast intelligence of which you speak? Is it an untapped capacity within the brain, or is it some disembodied force to which we may become open? There is ordinary intelligence in there. You wouldn't be sitting here if you hadn't intelligence. Would you? You took a train, you walked, you went car, you went by a bus and so on, which is the exercise of intelligence to come here. Because you wanted to come. Or it is intelligence to write a good letter. It is intelligence to put the computer together. It is intelligence that has put man on the moon. And it is not intelligence who puts a flag up there. Right? And it is intelligence that has made the computers, missiles, the atom bomb, neutron bomb, the hydrogen bomb, and all the things that are investigating about cancer, you follow? Liver trouble, and so on, so on, so on. That all requires intelligence. And that intelligence is the outcome of thought. Right? Right? But that intelligence is limited because it is the outcome of very careful, logical, experimental, systematic working it out, which is thought, right? So, and thought is limited. Therefore, all measurement, which is technology, is limited. They're adding more and more and more every year, right? Where there is the more, it is limited, right? Are we together? Or the better is limited. I am better than yesterday. It's very limited. Now, is there an intelligence which is not limited? I'm asking you, we are not telling each other. We recognize the common intelligence. Earn money, do business, go to the factory, get up in the morning, all the rest of it. That requires certain intelligence, which is limited, right? Because it's the outcome of thought. And thought, born of knowledge, and as knowledge is limited, always in the future or now, so thought is always limited. And the intelligence of thought is limited. That's simple. And is there intelligence which is not limited? Right? Now, who's going to find out? How will you find out? In what? How will you? Not how. How do you inquire? You understand my question? How do you probe into this? Knowing that thought has created intelligence which is limited. The artist, the poet, the great sculptors, the great literary people, painters and so on, all their things are limited, naturally. Though the artist may not accept that. Scientists accept it. Because they're adding more and more and more every year. Getting more and more knowledge about biology, about everything. So is there an intelligence which is not additive? You say the word adding to it. How can one probe into this? To go into it together. I'm not telling you what to do, please. I'm not your guru. I'm not your leader. I'm not your helper. That's not cruelty. Because we have been helped by so many people for thousands of years. And this help has made us weak. This help from seeking from so many directions is making us feeble. We cannot stand on our own feet and observe and be responsible. Right? If you are seeking help, how can you be responsible? Or if you are dependent, how can you be responsible? So, how do we, how is it possible to probe into this? Into that intelligence which is not limited? That intelligence, I don't know, we don't know, right? It's not, speaker has talked about it. He may know it or he may not know it. That's irrelevant. But how should you come upon it? To inquire into it, I must inquire into my whole existence, right? That means my existence, daily existence, not some illusory existence on another plane, another dimension and so on, superego, super consciousness, all that ideological nonsense. So, I must probe into my life. Obviously, the first thing is, where there is conflict, there is no intelligence. Right? If I'm in conflict all the time with people, with ideas, with theories, opinions, right? So, is there an end to conflict? Which means, is there an end to conflict and other problems so that the brain is free? Right? Are we together, at least verbally? You can see the logic of it, the sanity of this. The brain is conditioned, and conditioned to conflict. I'm taking that one issue. That brain is in conflict. Where there is conflict, it's impossible to see things clearly. Right? I see things very clearly that thought is limited, and whatever it does is limited, technologically or spiritual, so-called spiritually, is limited. And one sees also conflict being the way of life, struggle, being somebody, achieving something, and so on, so on, so on, is conflict. And conflict distorts perception, right? If I'm quarreling with my wife or my husband or with neighbor, I cannot see things as they are. I won't go into it more. So, there must be, if I see the truth of it, that very truth frees the brain from conflict. That is intelligence. Right? Seeing the truth of something and let that truth act. Right? I see very clearly, as long as there is conflict in the brain, it is not possible to see things clearly. That very perception ends conflict. Right? Because it's so. It is so, a snake is dangerous. Wild animal is dangerous. It is so, there is no two ways about it. Right. So, where is conflict? Where is the root of conflict? What makes the brain live in endless conflict? Is there a remedy for it? Not drugs, not alcohol, not some kind of fanciful imagination. Is there a perception that frees the brain from conflict, and therefore that brain is now moving or living in quite a different state, right? And what is that state? You're following? We are not analyzing, we're just observing. Is that, very briefly, got so little time. Very briefly, analyzer is the analyzed. Now, there is the analyzer separate from the thing he's analyzing. I'm analyzing myself. Suppose I have separated myself from the thing which I am observing, right? I am angry or jealous or neurotic, probably neurotic more. I'm neurotic. And then I say, why am I neurotic? As though it was something outside of me, right? I am neurotic because the brain is neurotic, right? My whole being is neurotic. It's not I am different from neurosis. So the observer, the analyzer, is the analyzed. Clear? Like the experiencer is the experience. Of course. It's rather difficult. Need I go into this? The thinker is the thought, right? That's clear. The thinker who says, I'm separate from thought, and therefore he controls thought, his shape, right? But the thinker is thought itself. So the thinker is the thought. The analyzer is the analyzed. Now, move next step, which is experiencer is not different from the experience. He thinks he's different. And therefore he says, I must experience. To experience, you must recognize it, right? Otherwise it's not an experience. But to recognize it, you already know it. I wonder if this. So the experiencer is the experience, the thinker is the thought, the analyzer is the analyzed. Right? Probably the analysts and the therapists and so on won't agree with this, but doesn't matter. Probably, I said, they may. So, there is being. If there is no conflict, it means there is only the fact. Right? Right? There is only the ending of conflict. It's a fact, or not a fact. Then, what takes place in relationship? You understand? That's when there is no conflict inside my brain, inside the brain. It's not my brain, it's the brain of all of us. That we won't go into for the moment. This brain is now without conflict, right? Because I watched it, looked at it. And therefore, in my relationship, there's no conflict. With a woman, man, right? Then, when there is no conflict in a relationship, then what is it? Is it not love? right? When there is no conflict, you understand? So they were all so dazed about all this. When there is no conflict between you and me, you understand? There's no difference between you and me. You may be a woman, I'm a man, and so on. You may be tall, short, black, white, purple, or whatever it is. But when there's no conflict, there's a total relationship between you and me. That is love. Right? Love is not jealousy. Love is not desire. Love is not pleasure. Pleasure means conflict. Desire means conflict. I want to do something, you, my wife wants to do something else. Where there is love, she can do what she wants, but there is love. You understand? The whole transformation has taken place. Where there is love, there is compassion. And where there is love and compassion, that is intelligence. That intelligence gives, in that intelligence there is absolute security, not relative security. You understand? That is intelligence. But one has to be tremendously watchful, which will be now. And that intelligence is limitless. It's not yours or mine, it's intelligence. Love is not my love and your love, it's love. Yes, sir. That love may be for one or the many, it's still love. Where there is love, there is no hate, there is no enemy. So, don't you know all this? So that is intelligence. You can't talk endlessly about it unless you do it. One can talk about it, as I have been doing. If you go into it much deeper, I don't know if you have time for it. You know, have you ever looked at a drum? A drum is tuned to its highest excellence, right tone. And when you strike on it, it gives the right note. Right? It is tuned. So the brain, when it is tuned, it gives right note, right response. I wonder if you capture all this. And it's not tuned, like drum is not, when it's in confidence, it's slack. So, to the brain tuned. Not you tune the brain, because you are part of the brain. You have to go, I won't go into all that. So is it possible, like the drum which is tuned to its highest excellence, to have the brain so tuned that it gives the right note all the time? Yes, how are you?
Harshad sir, would you please be kind to tell something more on this, please? Harshad sir, please unmute and say.
Yeah, are you able to hear?
Yeah, very well.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you, Sushil ji. This question somebody asked about vast intelligence. Krishna ji liked it very much. And the questioner is asking whether this vast intelligence has it to do something with the untapped capacity of the brain, or that one has to be open to some spirit, divine spirit, disembodied force, which is a divine. And Krishna ji doesn't talk anything about that disembodied force, but Krishna ji talks about the brain and about the problems which we face in the daily life. And he says there is an ordinary intelligence. Normally, he uses the word intellect. And this ordinary intellect, it can solve problems of scientific nature, or it can invent medicine or computers or aeroplanes or go to the moon. All this involves thinking, analysis. And Krishnaji says that that kind of intelligence, ordinary intelligence, is limited because it is based on thinking. And then he is asking, is there a different kind of intelligence which does not depend on thinking, which is not limited? So if Krishnaji asks me such a question, my mind will stop, because I don't know whether there is such a intelligence. And if I want to really look carefully at this question, then my mind has to be very, very silent to watch. And I feel that the mind, the brain becomes silent, but you don't know what that state, whether you call it vast intelligence or not. And then Krishnaji comes to the conflict, which a conflict is created by thinking. And from thinking comes the thinker. And there is a duality between thinker and thought. And this conflict, wherever there is a conflict, there is no intelligence. So indirectly, Krishnaji is saying that the brain must be very highly tuned, very, very quiet, very alert, and it sees everything very clearly without thinking. And so, and then of course he says analyzer is the analyze, thinker is the thought, experience is the experience. And then when he says when there is no such duality, there is no thinking, no thinker, then that state in which there is no conflict, that is a state of love, according to Krishnaji, that when the mind is silent, the brain is highly tuned, that love and compassion is the intelligence. And it is not a jealousy or a pleasure or a desire. It is not personal. It is a state of being alert and silent. And finally, he talks about the brain tuned like a drum. When the drum is tuned properly, you strike it and the right note comes from it. So that state, that vast intelligence is like a brain which is highly alert, very tuned, and when a question is asked, the right response comes from it. So this is the way Krishnaji defines the vast intelligence. He doesn't talk about disembodied force or the spirit, but Krishnaji's life, it seems mystical life, and he seemed to have some contact with what is called the masters or Lord Maitreya, and it is all there in the biography. But Krishnaji is avoiding talking with it about it because we don't know anything about it. So only we have to work with our own mind or brain and we see it clearly, whatever is arising without analyzing it and moving with what is. And in that, everything, whatever is happening, is exposed, and there is a learning happens in just watching, not thinking about it, not discussing about it. So this is what I find uh, very important in Krishnamurti, not asking so many questions, but if you ask a question and if that question is very, very important, then the mind stops and it begins to look at whatever is happening. And in that looking, there is a learning happens. Okay, so I have more or less talked about this. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Dinesh Waghmare, please unmute and say.
Are you able to listen to me?
Yeah, we are able to listen.
Okay. So, in today's message, first time JK acknowledged, at least I have heard this first time that he has acknowledged that the intelligence is required to make paintings, any artwork, write a good letter, computer work, any technical work like making missiles, atom bomb, or development in the medical field. So it is clear to do any work precisely, effectively, efficiently, rightly, orderly, intelligence is required. Good business, earning money out of knowledge is also part of the work which is backed by intelligence. However, JK said that this is limited intelligence because all said is done by usage of thought and thought is limited. Fine. Then he said, so is there any intelligence which is not limited? JK said to inquire about days is to inquire about whole of existence. Then he explained wherever conflict is there, there is no intelligence. So ultimately he said freedom is required to pursue this intelligence. And also said that tuning of brain is required with this intelligence. Now my views are unlimited intelligence is always present. It is only restricted by ignorance. Practically speaking, it is limited, distorted, obstructed by thought or conditioning. This intelligence is omnipotent, unlimited, always creative, all pervasive, infinitely pliable, etc. Once the mind brain duo is purified by right thinking, self-knowing, freedom from conditioning, so as to make ego dilute, then this intelligence starts coming into forefront. Ultimately, only left for an individual to tackle his individuality. In my views, individuality is even beyond ego. Once he starts getting freedom from individuality, then he can be, or rather the mind of an individual can make tuning with that intelligence. Interestingly, in tradition, they say it is yoga of Jeev with the God. Only words are different, but the meaning or the interpretation of my interpretation is that this is same. Then he has used so many other words: love, compassion, absolute security, etc., etc. Let us not get trapped into the words and only focus on the whatever the essence of today's talk. Here I also disagree. So we are clear that unlimited intelligence is always present, and how to get tuned up with that. For that, one has to undergo, as per JK, these whatever JK's teachings are, you have to follow that. There are other ways also, but I would not like to discuss on them. Further, I disagree with JK's statement that thought has created limited intelligence. Rather, limited intelligence has created limited thought. That's what my views are. Also, people say that this unlimited intelligence is same as choiceless awareness, attention, etc. But I disagree. There are all these are all different and actual working of individual will clarify this. These are all different things. So right now I want to submit this much only. Then we will see what comes up.
Thank you, Badla. Is there anyone else? Two persons. Prasad sir, please unmute. Please unmute me.
Sir, I really liked that statement of Harshad ji when he said, if you ask me what is vast intelligence, my mind just stops. Because we don't know what is that vast intelligence. We all know the ordinary intelligence of which he spoke also. He said all these inventions are the result of our ordinary intelligence in all fields. That's one thing. Similarly, to carry on your profession, a lawyer or a doctor or as a businessman, you need intelligence, we know that. But what is this vast intelligence? Which is different from the intelligence which we know. The ordinary intelligence is the result of thought, of experience, of knowledge. This we know. But what is this vast intelligence? We don't know. It may be a very familiar field for Krishnaji, but not for us. And he says, to know what is this vast intelligence, the mind must be free of conflict first. We are eternally in conflict with people, in our relationships, with ideas, with the theories. You have one theory, I have a different theory. So, our life is full of conflict. And it is only when you are free of conflict, there is a chance of understanding what is this vast intelligence. And in that process, he says, conflict, how it arises. In that, he says, he refers to what he has said at many other places. That is the conflict between the analyzer and the analyzed, the thinker and the thought. When we perceive something, there is always somebody perceiving it. So there is a gulf, a difference between the perceiver and what is perceived. there is no unity in our perception. There is a division between these two. Same thing as analyzer and analyzed. You can, I think you can increase that number of these divisions, knower and the known, like that. And then ultimately, he says the brain can be tuned. Not that you tune it, but it gets tuned on its own when it has freedom. Freedom is being free from conflict. When that freedom is there, that is my understanding, when there is that freedom, the brain automatically gets tuned. Otherwise, it is lost in conflict, desire, pleasure, all these things. And he says, he defines love also, here also, as he said elsewhere. When there is no conflict, there is love. And when there is love, there is compassion. Love and compassion result in that vast intelligence. For that, what we can do is only observing our minds, that is choiceless awareness of every thought that arises in us. And only when we understand what is love, not love as we normally understand it, but in terms of Krishnaji's definition, that it is not pleasure, it is not your self-centered activity in any way. That is love. So when love and compassion create that intelligence. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Harshad sir, you wanted to comment on these two?
Yes, one thing I like to say, Dinesh ji said that this vast intelligence always exists, but I don't think that we know it before. Only when it really happens, when our brain is very much tuned and it is our direct experience or feeling, then what we feel, we can call it, as Krishna ji calls, vast intelligence, but it is not available to most human beings. So it is a kind of a theoretical concept that it always exists. And another thing which I like to say, that what we can do as an individual is that we have to work with our own mind. If we are really curious, we have the honesty and intensity to look deeper into our own self. That means looking at the beginning of a thought, because everything comes from thinking. Even this ordinary intelligence, it comes from thinking. And because of that thinking, we have invented so many machines, aeroplane, going to the moon. It is because there was thinking, there was a language and mathematics, and use all that to develop some machines. And that intellect, it cannot solve the problems, real problems of psychological nature, because it can solve mathematical physics problem. It can make our life very easy, but it can also create atom bombs and destroy the earth. So that ordinary intelligence or intellect, it could be constructive as well as destructive, but it cannot solve the deeper problems of human relationship, like fear, anger, jealousy, loneliness, boredom, all these problems is really affecting humanity, and out of that problems comes violence and corruption. So the real intelligence is to be free from all these psychological problems so that our life is very peaceful, very orderly, and we don't create any destruction for ourselves or for others. Like if I get angry, then I am also destroying myself, my own happiness. So when such sensitivity comes that this anger is affecting my own self, then we begin to watch what is behind this anger or any problem, fear or loneliness. Then there is a possibility of coming to this curious looking without coming to any conclusion. And that looking is the real intelligence. That is what I feel. Okay, I have said enough.
Dakshina Murthy sir, please unmute and say. Dakshina Murthy sir.
Am I audible, sir?
Yeah.
Yes.
Good evening to all. Already a number of people have spoken. I will just to tell a few points from my side. Actually, there are three types of intelligence. One is the intelligence of thought, and we call it the intellect. We also call it cleverness. We also call it cunningness. That is very limited because thought is limited. Then there is the intelligence of the body, the biological system, which has got the intelligence to protect the organism. Suppose a poisonous snake is coming in the way, without thinking, we suddenly jump and go out of that way. That is the intelligence of the body. The third one, which Krishnaji is talking about, is supposed to be a vast intelligence of which we are not really aware. And in fact, there is a nice book of Krishnaji's talks called The Awakening of Intelligence. Unless that intelligence is awakened, the real human problems cannot be solved. For example, if you see the human relationships, there is a lot of conflict in the relationships between wife and husband, between family members, between friends. Everywhere conflict is there, and that is resulting in a lot of violence and ultimately ending in war. So this conflict is, where there is a conflict, there cannot be intelligence. So how to look at this conflict and how to get rid of the conflict, particularly in our relationships. For example, you take the close relationship of a wife and husband, and what is the role of desire in that relationship? The wife has a desire, for example, go to the temple. The husband has a desire to see the cricket match. So both have desires, but their desires, the object of desire is different. Then either there is conflict because suppose wife asks the husband to accompany her to the temple, and the husband says nothing doing, I want to see the cricket match or whatever, and so there is a conflict. But if there is a real understanding between them, so desire is a very conflicting factor. Desire is a product of thought, as we know, and the desire in relationship is actually resulting in conflict. So when there is a conflict, there is no clarity in the brain. Unless there is clarity, there cannot be intelligence. The conflict in the brain is a very unintelligent act. That's why Krishnaji is talking about in our relationships with our other human beings, if there is no conflict, then that is the real total relationship, which is nothing but love. Where there is love, there is compassion, and love and compassion will result in that vast intelligence, and that only can solve all our human problems. That's all I want to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Pradeep sir, please unmute and say. Verma ji.
Two persons are already there, Sushil. Ravi is there, Dinesh is there.
I am saying you have to speak, please.
Okay, okay, okay,
Thank you.
okay. Dashara special, okay.
Thank you.
Dinesh raised two very good points. That individuality, although connected, although associated by all of us with ego, individuality has a definite role in. Somebody is talking to me, I am listening as an individual. I don't deny it. There is nothing wrong with individuality. And there is no conflict in my mind. So there can be individual without conflict. Then I also have the same view that intelligence is all around us. Although Harshad Bhai was saying something different about this thing, but man uses through his brain and conditionings, what suits him and her in a particular situation. Here the self, this is the origin of the self, which may end up in conflict, which may not. Then I have to see myself, do I have a conflict? And what sort of brain, how do I get it? And I must explore myself in my conflict. So nobody else can help it. Then JK talked about tuned brain. This is something what I get from this. Tuned brain has to be silent brain. Silence comes automatically without conflict. Then only you can see and listen properly, clearly. Cosmic intelligence and our intelligence, human limited intelligence. You may use any word, intellect or whatever, you may go on using word and discussing words. But the thing is, cosmic intelligence, if you see, there's certain order is maintained all through. And that is absolutely impersonal. So again, the same, whether the self is obstructing, whether self is aggressive, whether self is demanding or desire, as Dakshina Murthy said. So ultimately, it is whether you are free from that selfishness, free from avarice, free from jealousy, greed, and all that obstructs. So the tuned brain, and if automatically, if it is tuned, then it gets tuned with the cosmic intelligence. I believe so. So this is all what simply, I have no questions about whatever I have listened in this video. Excellent video, very clear. No questions about it. No questions. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Harshad sir, do you want to say something?
Yes, about the individual without conflict. The root meaning of the word individual, it means a person is not divided.
Yes.
But generally, human beings are divided when they have many problems, conflicts. So, individual is without conflict is correct, but you have to take the right meaning. Individual means a person who is integrated, who
Yes.
is not divided, who
Correct.
is really free.
Yes.
And such a free person, there may no conflict. Yes, right. Okay, I've finished.
Ravi sir, would you please unmute and say Ravi Kaushal?
Hello.
Yeah, please,
Hello.
please go ahead. Please go ahead.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I think Harshad sir said something, two, three things very beautiful, that the thought cannot solve the psychological problems. Very beautiful. And two, three things, sir. Prasad sir, I think, have said freedom is when there is no conflict. I think these two statements really I like. But I object when Harshad sir is saying that this thought and thinker is stop. I think this is an idea. So the moment the mind thinks in terms of idea, I think it take a wrong turn. It raises the idea, and then there is a conditioning of intelligence. Then there is a knowledge of intelligence. Matlab, we see that it is the thought which wants to understand what is intelligence. The me in me wants to understand what is intelligence, and the me is the objection, the only hindrance, the only hindrance. See, I think this is the great paradox in our psyche, and there are two three things. Dinesh sir always interpretate. Interpretation has no meaning. I don't think so. Uh, and this statement that when there is no conflict, there is intelligence. So we must understand what actually is conflict, not in terms of time. When this happen and that happen, then we will understand. Then we are talking in terms of the time and all the conditioning mind. But to see what is conflict in us, what is conflict in me, the conflict, how conflict arise between you and me, how conflict arise. I don't think so. Why there is conflict? Um, if there is division, why there is division between you and me? Why? So these two things I like to say, Prasad sir is talking in terms of our perception. There's nothing like we cannot think together. It is the individual which can free himself. Not when the mind is thinking in terms of we. I always object that these things and when there is love, okay, the love. I see that K is saying that the desire brings conflict. Even I'm not totally agree with that statement of K. I see that one can have a desire and still there is no conflict. I think that when there is love, even the desire cannot bring conflict. And this another sir is saying that about cosmic intelligence and all that, and his belief. So I don't value any belief. It has no meaning. Either you know or you don't know. Say honestly, say clearly that I don't know. That is more beautiful than talking about the cosmic intelligence and all the things of intelligence that love and all that. On the of mind, I think it is more beautiful to talk what conflict is, to understand what conflict is. Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot.
Dinesh, please unmute and say.
Are you able to listen to me?
Yeah, very well.
Very interesting discussion going on. One thing we have to, can we see that our thinking process is working only in between two polarities. Either it is there or it is not there. One thing in my views we have to understand that JK has only given the pointers. He has not given solution, or he has not given the hints. What is the exact answer or solution to it, to any problem. But what happens? We forget that and we get trapped in that. Say, for example, we say that there is a limited intelligence or there is unlimited intelligence. But there are so many in between, what we can say, gray areas, or in between, there are so many shades of it, which we can say that the quality of intelligence gets improved as soon as you work on yourself, uh, on whether you work on your self knowing, or whether you work on your conditioning or whatever, as soon as you become start becoming mature, the quality of intelligence operating through you as a thought in creating anything or in making anything, it changes. It changes. One has to observe. It is not a question of direct polarity, or that is a theoretical idea and this is not theory. So we just giving statements. Are we really working on it and seeing what is happening? He said that you just see clearly. Are we able to see clearly that what is happening, what changes have taken place in years in with us? As soon as we get matured or we have started working on this, what has happened? Why our mind is only moving in between either unlimited polarity or limited polarity? Say for example, JK was attending the case, this legal cases. Do we mean to say that there were no conflicts with him, or there were no conflicts there? How can we say that only no conflict will be there, then silence will be there, and then only this? Why we are putting so conditions? These are all conditional statements, sir. Can we see it? These are all conditional statements, and we are putting conditions for becoming unconditional. Why? When JK was attending cases, what was his state of mind? Externally, if we see, there has to be conflict, because the legal court case is going on. But has his state of mind got changed by that? Has he forgotten love, or has he means came down from his state of this thing, what we say, enlightenment or whatever you call it? Has he gone down with that? So these things we have to see. We say that this is not there, this is there. Why? Let Harshad sir make comment on this.
Yes. Um,
As JK is not there, one should not ask the question related to JK, please.
yeah.
Yes, please go ahead, sir.
Yes. After reading Krishnaji, many people feel that this thinking is a big problem, and thinking is the enemy of man. But I feel that thinking is necessary for our daily life. Thinking is not a problem. What is the problem is a lack of awareness. When we can see our thinking clearly, then there is no conflict. One can move with thinking without this thinker coming into and trying to change it. So conflict comes when we try to change our thinking, and we say I like it or I don't like it. Then conflict when that thinker comes. Otherwise, thinking can go on without any conflict. Only when thinker comes, then there is a duality between thinker and thought. Then a conflict arises. Otherwise, thinking can go on in a proper order in the light of awareness. So our problem is that we don't have that intelligence or awareness which can see our thinking clearly. So that is what I have to say.
Pasha sir, Pasha sir, please unmute and say.
Good evening, sir. I wanted to also bring out what Dinesh Waghmare ji said about the court cases. Why? Because I think so. From this talk today, we understood that conflict is the main obstacle for this vast intelligence. One can simply be aware of the number of conflicts one goes through in everyday life. In living everyday life, there are numerous conflicts. One can simply be aware of them by observing everyday life. Now, I believe he also has gone through more or less similar problems as we are going. But the way K looked at the conflict might be different. Now, why I say that the way K look at conflict is different. Uh, I know about the court cases. I know the problems all he had gone through with the Rajagopals and everything. But at the end of his life, in an interview, he said that to the other person that I don't have a single conflict. He said clearly. Then I was shocked. Oh, this man has gone through the court cases and he has to see similar problems. If you read his biography, you will understand. Ordinarily, which we will consider as conflicts, he has gone through those all things. But still, at the end of his life, he clearly said that I I, I don't have a single conflict. Now he further added that it is not because that K was protected or anything. It is only because that intelligence, that conflict prevents intelligence. Only because of this intelligence, I don't have any conflict. He said. Now I believe the way K is looking at conflict is different. He has gone through all the problems that we are going through, but the way he looked it is different. Only because that he told that in the interview that I don't have a single conflict at the end of my life. I think so. By understanding, by listening to this interview, we can understand that the way he is looking at the conflict is different. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Pradeep sir,
Yes,
please
sir.
unmute.
Yeah. Just a few clarifications. What Ravi said, I was listening to him very attentively. He talked about conflict in human relationship between I and you or whatever he said. That is very clear. It is because of it's a conflict of images. Then about cosmic intelligence, he said there is nothing to believe, whether you know about it or not. Either you know or you don't know. Then I say certain things you feel. Knowledge is a very limited thing. Whether you know about cosmic intelligence, do I believe in myself or not? I believe in myself. I believe in being. Both the things. If you are believing because you have heard it somewhere or somebody said it or it has some utility in society, that's that belief system JK was talking about, that you don't have to believe, but believe in yourself. You know it, that you exist. He is talking about your existence, exploring your whole existence. So these are the 2 points that knowledge, if you want to test it through knowledge, it is very limited. And at the most, certain scientific facts may come up, but that is not. So this is belief is something like individuality. Belief is not something very bad. It's not always wrong. Believe in yourself. That is that can happen rather when you know about yourself. Then only this is possible, and then only you get this feeling that yes, I do exist, and I do exist in harmony. If you want me to explain harmony, it's very difficult. If you want to this explanation for tuning, very difficult. So everything cannot be converted into words that can be given like a knowledge, something like that. So this is all I have to say. Thank you very much.
You are muted. Sushilji, you are muted. Please
Ravi,
unmute yourself.
Ravi, please. Still you wanted to ask something after given clarification by Pradeep ji? Ravi, still you wanted to ask something? You
I
are
don't
raising
think so.
hand. You are
Yes,
raising
yes,
hand.
yes, sir.
Please,
Am I audible?
please come forward and ask.
I'm saying, am I audible, sir?
Yes.
Yeah, very well
Okay.
audible.
Okay. So Dinesh sir and one other speaker is talking about K's intelligence and whether he is in conflict when the court case was going. So I'm saying that any idea of K, any idea of K, any image of K, why you have the image? Why how can you say whether he's in conflict at that time or whether he's not? I think both are ideas. So see, this is the problem of image. If you have the image, then there is then you must put in good terms or bad terms. Why are you evaluating any image? That is one thing. So I see that see the Buddha kill the Buddha, the one saying Zen saying I believe in that. Not believe. Okay, I use the word believe, but anyhow, this is one thing. And so I think what K has said is more important than thinking. What K is thinking. So what K is thinking, you can only assume. So, but what he has said has more value. कबीर का कोई saying भी आई थिंक इसके बारे में क्या कहते हैं क्या वो तलवार का क्या पड़ी रहने दो म्यान मेरे को तलवार का पड़ी रहने दो म्यान करके समथिंग तो उसकी इमेज की वैल्यू नहीं है उसके अंदर जाओगे तो फिर तुम इमेज का नहीं करोगे तुमने एक और खुदा बना लिया अपने दिमाग में which are so this whole thing and cosmic intelligence and seeing what sir is saying. So I see that some people think that if I don't see the thing by my eyes, even if the case is saying, I cannot digest that. So I must have to penetrate what they is saying. That is more beautiful. But what has its value? Can I see all the things? Can I see the thinker and the thought is same? Then I have the authority to talk on that. But when I believe, when I feel, then all these things always create ideas. So I don't go into that. Either I see or I don't see. And when I see, I think I talk with authority kind of say. But not in terms of me, but in terms of because I've seen that. Thank you, sir.
Harshad Parekh, sir, please unmute and
Yeah. Yeah, are you able to hear?
yeah, very well.
Okay. If a room is kept not clean every day, then a lot of dust settles on it, and even the spiders make webs. So our mind also gets dusty because of this problem, conflict. But if we know how to look, how to meditate, then there is a possibility of cleaning our mind every day. So there will be problems, but how do we look at the problems? That kind of intelligence which Krishnaji is talking, which can see very, very clearly how the problems is arising, and if because of some unawareness a problem has come, it will not remain. When we begin to look, then it will be cleaned up. So that is what he calls tuning the brain. And if that is what we are really interested in, tuning our brain, we can see the beginning of a problem. So problems will arise, but how do we approach the problem? And that approach will be good if there is this seeing clearly. So what I'm trying to say that, yes, Krishnaji also has gone through problems, but he knew how to clean himself every day. And he gives the example of river Ganga, that you throw a lot of garbage, but after some kilometer or so, Ganga cleans itself. So that kind of ability to clean our own mind daily, that is very important, I think. A kind of a meditation, looking very, very clearly at what is happening in our life. Okay, finish.
Thank you very much, sir.
Mm.
Modak, you wanted to add one thing? Usually you have to. Modak,
A lot of things have been said.
still you can add one thing.
Still there is nothing to be added,
Yeah.
because intelligence is a very deep and personal thing. Although he may say that it is not personal, but when we are coming into picture, therefore it comes personal for us. So we have to explore what is our personal intelligence, what is our relation to the vast intelligence and all that. And we have to reach to the unlimited intelligence which is operating everywhere, and we have to tap to that.
Yes, yes,
So that is the basic function,
yes.
not going on interrogating or asking questions, but we have to ask question to ourselves. So what we are doing.
Thank you, Modak. Thank you. Harshad
Prasad
Parekh,
sir.
sir, you please add something.
Can I say something?
No,
Or ask?
please don't. Please don't let Harshad Parekh should say something. Please.
Yeah, no, what I feel, I don't give the name like unlimited intelligence. I don't know what it is, but it's possible to look clearly at looking at the things or looking at the thoughts and be in touch with what is. This many words we have invented in this field: intelligence, intellect, all these are words, even meditation. But what is behind these words, that is interests me very much, and that we can get into only when our mind becomes very silent and clear. Then we don't define anything. There is no need to define vast intelligence or anything like that. Okay, I finish.
Thank you very much, sir. Should we end at this note, please?
Sir, I have to say something.
What you have to say? Your vast intelligence cannot come in this limited time.
But still, 5 minutes are there.
5 minutes? 5 minutes there. But vast intelligence is more than that. You can go ahead. If you can't live without saying, please say.
Say that.
Okay, thank you. One thing I would like to say, we have to start with conditioning and observer is observed, etc. But we have to see. I am taking reference of Dakshina Murthy's statement. Why we are dividing this intelligence as body intelligence, then your normal intelligence, and then this unlimited intelligence. Why this division is there? We are creating, number one. Number two, as far as Pasha is concerned, what he was saying, Ravi Kaushal is concerned, I would like to share my insight in this. He said that how do you know what JK has, what is happening with the JK? So JK himself has given the reply at one place, and we have to understand that. Suppose I am listening to JK, and I wanted to know whether intelligence is operating through him or not. He himself has given the hints or pointers. Is anything new coming through it, which is not there earlier? Is there any freshness is there? Is there clarity is there? So these are so many things which you have to see when the person is speaking, or whatever is there any substance in it related to yours, or whatever the subject is there. So when you focus on that, I would not use the word attention, but if you focus on that, you will automatically know if at all you have worked on yourself. Say in the case of, he said, how do you know JK? JK may be having any feelings, but JK said in relationship, one has to understand that how you are related to it. Suppose when I am talking about how he has handled the cases, whether his mind was out of without conflict or without love or whatever the state is, whatever may be the state he is having inside, how it is coming to me. how it is projected to me, that I have to see.
Hmm.
And what my insight is giving me the hints or pointers in this. So I have to see. One thing I can definitely say in this, whether as JK has tackled the cases silently or without touching, disturbing, getting disturbed his heart or whatever it is. So I have to be that much alert, or I have to be that much attentive, that I can also, there is a probability, because this is again what should be statement, but there is a possibility that you can handle the conflict without disturbing your that silent state of mind or harmony of your inner state. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. You left 2 minutes at least.
Yes.
So please end it.
You always pressurize me to speak in a very short time. You don't give me sufficient time. That is what my complaint is. Anyway, it is up to you. How do you take it?
We are allowing you to give lecture. You are not coming forward. You are just saying things. And you are getting repeated insights which I have never listened in anywhere. You have mentioned that in previous lecture. I just wanted
I may be a corrupted or pseudo. I may be a corrupted or pseudo or disturbed JK type personality. You may say.
Let us not go into that.
Nothing like that. Nothing like that. Please finish it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.